real.
You guys didn't mention something really important. You didn't say anything about my Civic sitting out in front of the...
I did when I drove in.
He did say something.
Well,
Just
I didn't hear it.
Not
so.
publicly.
What happened? What's the word? What's the T?
The best news possible. And for once, I diagnosed a mechanical problem.
Dang,
son.
I don't know if you weren't around when this happened. It was just Ross.
I'm kind of the absent friend.
My first test was replacing the spark plugs. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, one of the cylinders was completely full of oil. And I think it's because of a gasket issue. And so he replaced the gasket, and that solved the problem. But the funny thing is, when I was loading the car onto my dad's trailer to take over there, because I wasn't going to hire a tow truck. So we picked it up from down here, took it to my house, unloaded it from a trailer, and then loaded it back onto a trailer because he has to use his trailer. On the way back up, I completely busted and destroyed the front bumper. But my mechanic just zip tied it all up. So that brings me to a spot where I am interested to hear what you think. So it was $180. It was
just for the part and labor.
Yeah, it was best case scenario because I was thinking he's going to come back and be like 800, 1,000. I need to rebuild the engine. It'll be thousands, which obviously on that car it wouldn't be. And maybe that takes me to a spot where we can talk about a cultural issue we're facing, plus my dilemma. So do I take advantage of the market and sell the car for a rate that is just insane? Especially because I don't know if you saw, market's crashing a little bit.
Really?
Used car market is?
I mean,
Or
not
just the market?
The stock market
Okay.
is kind of in free fall.
Stonks are down.
Couple days.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It is crazy.
it's finally happening. So do I sell the car like today for like $4,000? That's what I was thinking about putting it on Facebook Marketplace for. And I feel comfortable with that. Like, I don't feel like I'm really screwing anyone over because that's the only problem I've had with the car in years.
And
a
you
good
fixed
car.
it.
Yeah, and I fixed it. It was only $180. It needs new tires. That's one of the reasons I'm like, it's a big decision point, as in like today, because he was like, you need new tires now. So I would be selling it as is and saying, here's this car. You need to go get new tires. You need to put in some work on it. It's cheap. Here you go. So do I take advantage of the market and do that? But I see a lot of people, like, I don't know if you guys have heard anything about the meat packing industry lately.
Little to none over here.
0.
All right. Sorry, just got a sip of this
Wow.
light roast.
We love light roast.
Yeah, this is the light roast, right?
It did say light roast on the bag.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This might be the best coffee that has said light roast on the bag that I've ever had.
That's fair. Fair to say.
This isn't our coffee, by the way.
So the meat packing industry, they serve as almost a middleman to...
The used car market.
We're off of the used car market for a second, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm giving an anecdote.
An antidote.
I'm antidote. So
Anecdotally speaking.
they buy the meat from farmers. They package it. They sell it. They have used this time of inflation as a means to increase their prices way more than they should have, and then blame it on inflation.
Uh-oh.
Like a lot of companies around the world are doing this. They're even talking about it in their like investor meetings and conferences. Like,
this is a good time to...
Yeah, they're like, hey, inflation has been 7% over the last year. We were able to take advantage and raise our prices by 25%.
Wow.
Like, I think meat is up
Jeez.
like I could be talking out of my ass, but like 35%.
On the stock market show, it's like MEAT.
Yeah.
Is the
That's the ticker.
tagline. Yeah.
Have you, in your personal experience, have you seen meat more expensive in the grocery store?
As a meat eater,
Yeah.
Rachel does all the grocery shopping, so I don't know.
We could
How
FaceTime
nuclear
her.
of you.
I'm sorry.
But with that being said, am I the meat packer
Oh.
in this sense for taking advantage? Or is it okay because people have the free will to purchase my Civic for more than it was a year ago?
I know the answer.
Me too.
The answer is I don't even think $4,000 is like a huge ask. It's a good car.
Okay.
And I think cars are a little bit more relative than
Meat.
meat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were doing it, like if you were selling a car that didn't function, or you were like doing a bad deal, I would probably interject.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
Well, I don't think inflation and the rise in the used car market are necessarily joined at the hip completely. You know, a lot of people aren't talking about this these days, but I've decided to
This is why we started a podcast.
really
you know?
really champion this cause. By the way, whose coffee is this?
Oh, did you get
I
your
got
own
it.
coffee?
I got it for you.
Looks like one of us is going to be extra caffeinated.
Orphan mindset. Because inflation has been happening, but I feel like the used car market and the housing market went up, like maybe before inflation was happening, or is that the case that inflation and both of these markets are like completely feeding into each other, and as soon as inflation goes down, the housing market and the car market will go down along with it.
That's not really a done deal. Done deal.
Best
Here's
brand of
my new
pickles.
restaurant, Done Dill, where we use everything dill.
Dude, add that to the list.
Dude,
of your bar names.
I hate dill. That's the funny
That's
thing.
so weird. I get it though. It's a really weird flavor.
I like dill. I like pickles. I would eat a
Really?
dill pickle, but I like if a food has dill on it, I'm just like,
Whoa.
yeah.
Sorry, you were breaking down our economy.
Yeah.
So I don't think. First of all, I don't know.
Okay.
Second, especially the housing market is not tied directly to these other issues. The housing market is it's always a result of supply and demand, chiefly. I, in all of my years of experience
As a real estate
as a
agent.
realtor, my month of experience, no, I think so. And then you have extremely competitive interest rates.
Right.
You have a ton
Those
of
are going up, right?
yes. They're
in March.
they're saying there might be between 5 and 7 interest rate hikes this year at this point.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I'm building a house next year. What's up?
Let's go.
So
Just get the loan now.
yeah, just sit on it.
Yeah.
I think that's how loans work, right?
You can ask to not start paying until later.
Forbearance.
Forbearance.
Yeah, so that's I don't know where we were with that. You guys hearing that?
Yeah. I think that's your
It's me.
all this time has it been you?
All right, guys, today I'm going to talk about how to EQ a mic
Come on. Let's go.
cuz I totally know what I'm doing.
David Funk, this is a call out to you.
We've referenced David every episode.
Check.
Rightfully
Check,
so.
check, check.
He kind of put us on the map
Thank you,
as,
David.
as far as viewers go.
Yeah. I mean,
Like we really share audiences at the end of the day.
It's true. It's true. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you sound crazy.
very tasteful.
It's funny cuz I just did that, but in like when we play this back, that will not be there.
Really?
Yeah.
You really need that 10K, don't you?
Got to have the 10K.
10K magic in the air. Maybe while he's dialing in over here, we could talk about something.
Okay, what's up? What's on your mind?
Maybe we could just share with the people what's going on with our company right now.
Yeah.
Kind of a company checkup.
Valor vibe check.
Totally.
Check. Got it.
Oh, look at that.
It's the 6K. That better?
Who needs
Nope, it's not.
That's not really that better. Whatever, dude.
We can fix it in post. We can just green screen it.
Well, I would say one of the most exciting, longest standing, slowest, awesomest projects has been trying to get a second cafe going.
Whoa.
Right, boys? It was always a dream of ours to have
For sure.
multiple cafes, right? And we've looked in several different places. We've looked in Atlanta. We've looked downtown Atlanta. We've looked
Around town Atlanta.
around town Atlanta, midtown.
Uptown.
But I think we're kind of, dare I say, not landing, but definitely making some strides on some spaces around the perimeter, Dunwoody, Brookhaven, these sort of areas.
Yeah.
They are slap full of people, those areas. So many houses, so many residential areas. And we found in the first location, we really thrive off of just the neighborhood, tons of houses being close by. Because with that, you got schools around, you've got obviously other restaurants, businesses, and then you have people commuting from those houses to wherever their jobs are. And those areas just have all of those things, but hardly any specialty coffee. And I'm just excited. I really hope it works out. I really hope one of those works out. We probably won't take both of those opportunities.
No.
Because they're pretty close to each other. But looking at two spaces there in the Brookhaven area, we should just go like walk the streets. And like when we were looking for spaces one time, Ethan, I saw these kids like walking down the street, and do you ever just like think about doing something or saying something, and you're like, no, I shouldn't do that. Like I was thinking about it, like, hey kid,
Come here.
you want us to put a coffee shop here? And they'd probably just like run away from me,
Sure.
but rightfully so. But I'm a nice guy. I mean,
Wait, come back. I'm nice.
and we should just go talk to people, just be like, hey, how's it going? Just get a vibe check on people and be like, would you enjoy having a coffee shop here?
Do you remember when we first got our pop-up in Thrive? We're in the same building we are now, and we wanted to go around to all the businesses and introduce ourselves and
Yes.
just say like hello. That was a really funny time. I feel like that didn't go super well
No, I mean,
because people always thought we were just selling something.
right.
So it's like, hey, how's it going? Like, hello?
Cut to the chase.
What do you want? We're like, oh, we're just your neighbors. Wanted to say hi.
Yeah, we were going for this like neighborly, small town, like camaraderie. We're all in this together kind of vibe. And they just thought we were like telemarketers in person.
And that's cool. It's totally fine. I feel like we have a pretty good amount of people that work in the area come to us as like the coffee shop,
Absolutely.
which is one of my favorite things. The service industry or we got a great thing going with all the fine people over at Comeback Vinyl.
True.
There's some rapport there.
And they're all sort of influencers in their own right. They're at Comeback. They're sort of the heartbeat of the city in the sense of any sort of hipster vinyl lover is going to come back, and then they're going to Valor after.
Well, yeah, that's such a perk to being anywhere, is if you're around like another entity that your demographic of people that come to your place, you can send them to.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh hey, we're in Alpharetta for the day. What else do you got for us? And we're like, you can walk around. You can go to Comeback. Go look at some vinyls.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's mostly women's boutiques, but it's changing. You know, you got those two outfitters, two like hiking outdoor stores, art center, art galleries.
Gorgeous.
How's the mic check?
I just wish I was better, with this stuff.
Baby, I hear you.
But what are you going to do?
I don't know.
What are you going to do?
Here, give me the computer. I'll figure it out.
Record some quality radio.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be on the radio. Do you think we could get this to be on the radio?
Do you have any radio connections? You know Seacrest?
I do.
You know Seacrest?
No. But my only radio connection is the fine people at Victory 91.5.
Oh, yes.
yes.
So we could probably,
Do
Put
like a Christian business.
put a little spin
Segment.
on it. Yeah.
Just sounds like Dave Ramsey.
Ooh,
And we don't talk about Dave Ramsey. We all know how I feel about Dave.
you love Dave.
You love Dave. It's just his, his philosophies that you don't prescribe to.
Vibe check with.
per Skype.
You don't prescribe with that necessarily speaking.
Yeah. I think Dave has helped a lot of people,
He helped my parents,
That's awesome.
and in a way, then that helped me, right?
Do you remember at the pop-up when you would say, like, we would be like super slow, and Ethan, you would say, man, we gotta drum up some business. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, you'd get this like angsty energy to do something. I admire it, because those customers they would be pretty few and far in between sometimes.
Yeah.
Or spinning signs outside. What's the next Instagram post that's going to get us more customers? What else? I mean,
I don't know. I don't even know what I would do. I think, run outside, try to get a pulse check. Well, when we first moved into Alpharetta, it was not the Alpharetta that is now.
absolutely.
It was pretty quiet, pretty lull. And so foot traffic and walkability was just a lot different. And that's crazy. It's crazy to see how things have evolved and changed, and we've been able to anchor ourselves in a wonderful city. Very grateful for it. I don't remember how I channeled my angst. I don't know why I thought you were going to bring this up, but one of my biggest shortcomings in the customer, guest experience, you remember this? I would always not count children. And I would always be like, so if a couple ever comes to Valor, I'm like, hey, what are you two up to today? And then they would, if someone brought a kid, I'd be like, what are you two up to today? And like, oh, sorry, 3. What are you 3 up to today?
It's almost worse when you correct yourself.
But I did every time.
Yeah. It's
Oh, forgot about the little person. What are you 4? Do babies count?
Are you pregnant? By the way, you look pregnant. So is that 5 or kind of putting your foot in your mouth there?
Yeah, I'm very skilled, very flexible in that regard.
Well, to choose doubt as a philosophy of life is akin to choosing immobility as a means of transportation.
What?
Next. What are you guys most excited about for cafe number 2?
Go ahead.
Probably the fame and notoriety, if I had to say. Mm-hmm. That's kind of why I got into this.
We're just trying to get in a spot where famous people can come into our space and make us famous.
I want Sting to come in.
Sting. We need you, man.
Sting. And then
that sting?
Sorry, what's the name of this basketball player that I have to play?
Iman
Shumpert.
Shumpert.
If I can get those two guys in the space,
Do you
That'd
guys
be
remember my
electric.
Shaquille O'Neal idea when we were first opening Cafe Number One?
absolutely not.
Like hire him to come hang out
No,
for the
no,
day?
no. Just stop right there, buddy. So you have a chair, and it's roped off. Okay, it's just like in the corner, and it's just like people are like, "Why is that chair roped off?" And we say that chair belongs to Shaquille O'Neal. No one can sit there except Shaq. He would definitely come.
You think?
The word would get around. Okay, and he would be in the space.
How big is the chair?
The Shaq doesn't matter. It's the idea. Shaq, you matter. I love you. But
You'd have to get a chair like a little bigger, right?
Like a 1.25x.
Yeah, nothing
size.
crazy. I mean, honestly, if there's enough space,
can we pivot to someone not Shaq?
No.
Justin Timberlake.
Okay, so
He
Justin
wouldn't
Justin
come.
Timberlake chair.
He wouldn't come.
I say Shaq. I think Shaq lives in Atlanta. That was one of the big
Big
pros
T,
there.
remember when you served a cup of ice to Usher? Huh?
I actually didn't serve the ice. I was standing beside Scott Ulrich, who did serve the ice.
I've heard that story a couple different ways then, honestly.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
when I'm a couple beers in, of course, I'm going to be the champion. All right.
Right. Like you're going to say, I served him, a single origin espresso. He was like, is this washed? You were like, no.
And he was like, yes.
oh my gosh.
Baby, let me love you. dog.
So, anyways, can we get back to like a serious response for my question?
Oh, I was gonna say the money, but that's not serious either.
Okay, cool.
No, I think one of the things that we've always tried to offer is like a career, So having a second cafe will create more space in the company for people besides ourselves to make a living, like a really like sustainable, raise a family, buy a house, money, And so to offer that to more people would be amazing.
Bro, can you break down our progression over the years of how we viewed that? Because we started off being like, everybody's going to have a career, people are going to retire with us. Mm-hmm. And I feel like reality hit us a little bit there, being in the coffee industry. And now we're trying to wrap our heads around how many people can we realistically give careers to, and how much money constitutes a career? Mm-hmm. What is your evolution been like there?
Well, it's cool to still see people be able to function and have a life and make a living as our most entry level position. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be living with your parents, and you don't have to I don't know, you can take car payments, and you can manage your existence with what we have right now. And that's cool. I wonder, I always am my brain's always turning on how can you create a model that makes everybody basically middle class level. And I don't even know if that's possible.
Socialism.
Yeah. Yeah. What if, okay, that's it.
It's called socialism.
No. Some sort of co-op. But anyways, your question was, how does that change over time? I think in that
Because usually in service jobs, or just jobs where the entry level is not paid a ton of money, what we're in right now, or they are paid an hourly rate and then they rely heavily on tips. You have a group of people like that, and then you have an owner or two, or in our case 3, that make the career money. Mm-hmm. Not that we make a lot of money at all. There's been times where our employees make more than us.
Yeah, we make just full transparency, like 1.2x of our full-time employees.
Yeah, do the math, haters. But that's how it is, and it's always this tension of like, how do we recruit top talent? You know, people that are aspirational, people that are, you know, headed somewhere in their lives, people that you really want to be on your team. It's like those kinds of people are usually the ones that want to go get, you know, career jobs.
Yeah.
But we really want their talent behind our bar.
Right.
And not, beyond that, we really want their talent like leading our people. And so it's like, how do you hire someone as a startup and say like, there's so much opportunity for you to grow here, and you know, the sky's the limit. And in the back of your head, you're thinking like, I don't really have a structure for that. Like, we want to open more locations, we want to have more opportunities, and we will. But how do you keep those, you know, those employees engaged and inspired?
Yeah, I think a couple of things come to mind is like, we've seen a lot of people go from corporate or from higher paying jobs just to work at Valor. And that's in big part, I think, of the culture and like the work sustainability culture that we offer, where like you can be there for a pretty long season and have your life still be balanced and fulfilled. And I think we try to do a really good job of like making sure everybody can get enough hours to like pay their bills, but they have multiple off days. They don't work all day on their days on.
It's like a little bit of intangible compensation.
Yeah,
I know, like, you know, money is king
sure.
and the root of all evil. Okay.
At the same time.
So obviously you want to be able to front the cash, but if you just literally can't do that in the way that we would love to, we try to be a little more creative.
We'll tell our story about wanting to offer healthcare. Like,
Yeah. So at the end of, not even the end of last year, since we started this company, we've wanted that to be a thing for our employees.
And for us, frankly.
Yeah, for sure. And so last year we start really looking into it, kind of go through a healthcare broker. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was just like, if we do this, we'll probably go under because it's just that insane. So,
and you can say that, right? It's like, oh yeah, it's so expensive. Like we would go under, but it's like, we would genuinely run out of money.
Yeah. I mean,
at a rapid pace.
It wouldn't be over the course of like a year or anything, I don't think, but it would definitely eat into the P&L to where our business just would not be viable at all.
At our current size.
At our current size. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's whenever, I mean, we were looking at getting it for like 8 people or something like that. And that's where things are just truly impossible. I mean, it doesn't get a tremendous amount better, but we had to take a step back and be like, okay, we can't do this right now. We'll look at it again when we have 2 or 3 cafes, and hopefully they will be giving us more, you know, like the bulk discount. So we settled on an employee stipend for all of our employees who were in need of healthcare, which, you know, is not as good, unfortunately, because just because, you know, there's no tax benefit. Like the money we give them is essentially just
income,
additional earnings.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was better than nothing, and it was what we can do. So,
but they can use that money to go get a, you know, marketplace health insurance.
Yeah, like a insurance sharing situation, or if they want to. I'm not gonna, you know, we're not over. They can go spend that money on Flamin' Hot Cheetos for all I care.
They do have some secret health benefits. Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Wow. But that's the intention of it. And I think most people who are receiving it are doing, responsible things with it to better themselves. Even if someone was like, taking that money to freaking take guitar lessons or something.
Quality of life boost stuff.
Yeah.
I know that Basecamp did that for a little while.
Right.
Whenever we were really into listening, which is funny because it's not funny. It's really sad and concerning. A lot of Basecamp's employees quit over some workplace culture stuff.
Huh.
But
I've just been using my stipend to like go get wheatgrass shots and
yeah.
like, kind of like a proactive approach to health, preventative.
You sound really serious.
Oh,
you buy the Valor essential oils because like Valor.
yes,
You guys know about that?
I do actually. Yes.
I didn't. There are a few different things called Valor out there. Not as many Thrives. Everything is Thrive something right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I saw a soccer field called Thrive Soccer. I was like, whoa, they're covering all their bases. Anyways, so you asked how things have changed and how we've been able to like still bring on people that are like high achievers and like growers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the work, sustainability, culture, and like prioritization of people is great for all that. And then I think to the most part, if there was a transcript of everything we've ever said, I feel like we try to do our darndest not to like tell someone that they will do something with us in the future. Because I think anyone that's ever worked for either a growing business or a startup has been promised things and it basically never happens. And that's not to point fingers, but it's just like, it's how it is. Like everybody's got dreams and you want to let your team in on that dream.
Right.
But reality usually has some different plans in store.
Yeah.
With that being said, we still plan on growing and still plan on giving people these opportunities. I think we maybe just had this dream when we first started hiring people that was like every person that we hire is going to stay with us for a really, really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even have any of the first round of hires still on our company. And there's a lot of things that could be broken down there, but just the one thing to hit on is just like it made me sad. Like it was like, this was a thing that I wanted and we didn't get. But are they in a better place and are we in a better place because it didn't work out the way that we wanted? Yes. But when it comes to like this harsher reality that we can still be called into, which is some people come on our team and they're going to grow with us for a long time, and some people are going to come on our team and grow in themselves and become better workers and better like at team skills and better at like guest relations and like work ethic, and they're going to go take those talents elsewhere,
Right.
And that's hard, but I think that's just a reality for a lot of people. Like one of our beloved founding pit crew members, Jonathan, is in fire school now. His dream was to be a firefighter. And we were talking the other day that he was like, I didn't know how much being a barista at Valor would have prepared me to be in fire school, but it did. Like he's like leaps and bounds ahead of other people because of his experience working at Valor. I thought that was really cool. You never know what you're going to step into next, but you could still be better off for it.
Absolutely. And back to Big T's original question of like, what are we most excited about for the new location? It's always this balance between providing, opportunity for your staff and your team as quickly as you can, but not growing so fast that, let's say we opened Cafe One back in August of 2019, and we have all these superstars on the squad, which we still do, have superstars, but they're different superstars. And we say, you guys are founding members, like you're all going to be managing your own cafe in a year. And it's like, oh, that's probably going to keep them around for a year, right? To see if that actually happens. But those 3 cafes that we start out of that are going to suck. Mm-hmm. And so it's always the balance of, at the end of the day, we do need to do what's best for the company. As much as our huge philosophy for us is the health of the team is the most important thing. We want to be focused on our team because that is truly the best thing you can do for your business. But at the end of the day, there's certain business decisions that you make that are for, to better the culture of the company in the long term, as opposed to just like seizing an opportunity for this one person that might quit in a year. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, boys?
It's better for that person too, right?
Right.
Because if you take the 3 cafe in 1 year approach, like they're gonna have to be in charge of a like very poorly thought out entity,
Right.
And that will just bring turmoil and strife. I wanted to say grief, but
That too.
Grief is not a word. Strife and grief.
And the reality there is, if you wait to grow as a company, you might lose some of your superstars, like we said. Mm-hmm. But you have to trust that it's actually better that way, or at least we're betting on that. And we that's kind of the plan.
Yeah.
Because we opened the cafe, like you said, in August of 2019, and this next cafe probably won't be open at the very soonest. 6 months from now? Who knows?
Sure, very soonest.
Very, very soonest, 6 months from now. And so how many years is that? Anybody good at math?
That would be 3 years.
Yeah.
And which is funny, right? And so that's where I wanted to go next and get some cultural critique from either of you. Is like, I think.
Do you think I can say what I'm excited about for the cafe?
Oh, yeah.
I am excited about all of the things you guys said, but to change it up, not. I almost said beat a dead horse, but that's just so terrible.
It's vulgar.
Yeah.
But not to beat a dead horse or nothing.
Yeah, but so I just really like the space planning, especially knowing what we know now about the downfalls of our current space, the challenges of our current space,
the growth opportunities.
Yeah, I really look forward to being able to go in and get our hands on it and say, what are we going to do to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when we first started talking about this second location, I sat down at one of the small tables at 44 Milton, and I just started to journal all of the things that we've learned, or at least I've learned from laying out this space. I had a list of all the things that we want to replicate about this space, and a list of all the things that, really specific things that we want to change. Mm-hmm. That would be maybe a fun episode for us to just break down the 3 of our versions of that list.
Whoa. So you want us to make our own lists?
Yeah, that could be fun. A little homework for you boys.
That'll be fun. Oh, that's nice.
I'd love to give a quick shout out to Circle Coffee Co. They messaged us after our episode where we were talking about potentially having some... What?
One of those messages was really funny.
I wonder what it said.
What?
Don't worry about it.
They wanted to let us know. I won't show this on the air, but they listened to our episode, heard us talking about seraphims, and they wanted us to know about these Tone Touch 3s. Did you guys look at the link I sent you?
I did.
Had you guys ever seen those?
Have not.
Haven't.
Looks super cool though.
Super cool.
Very.
So tankless, automatic pour over situation.
It's like a tankless hot water heater.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I think it solves several issues.
It's not that expensive.
It's really not that bad. I think you'd probably want 2 of them. And I think GH sells these.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know what that means.
So you have all of your different settings you can use, and then you can even program those to come out at different temps. So we all know how I've always wanted different temperatures for our teas.
Hello.
You're big about that.
I'm just a huge tea lover,
Tea head.
Tea.
Put a T on his
Yeah.
head, but don't call him a tea head.
So, I don't know if we would ever offer 2 different types of pour over, but I guess you could do that with this machine too. And I don't think it has a drain line, which is pretty cool for us considering we're going to install post build out.
Construction, yeah. That would have been fun.
It'd just be a little bit of a pain point, but we could easily, do some electrical and a little water line on that.
Does it just have it just drains into like a reservoir?
Yeah, I
Like
think so. Because
okay.
there's not really a point for a drain. It's like a drip brewer,
Yeah, right.
As long as you have a vessel to catch your rinses and that sort of stuff. But I see this, so I think you can put that thing on it. I've seen it where they haven't used that. But super cool machine. I think we might look into it.
Thanks, Circle Coffee.
I got to call Tom over at GH. Tom Roll Lurie.
Tom, if you're listening,
Thank you.
you'll be getting a call from us.
Consider sponsoring us, Tom. That is an exciting process. I think that was a really pivotal step in our relationship, our triunal relationship, where we really got to showcase our conflict resolution and work through disagreements, because it was literally like our dream coming true before our eyes. But it just so happened that 3 individual people wanted to express their dreams in their own cafe, And so it's always funny when people like the space or compliment what the aesthetic of 44 Milton, because it's like no one person could really take credit for it, because it was just like the culmination of all of our different ideas and arguments and tears. So many tears.
Let's be clear. It's no, what do you want to call it? It's no Ritz-Carlton.
But that's the charm, right?
But it's ours, baby. It's ours.
It's got so much soul. Like, I don't know. That's just what you love. You love that you can tell that a place was like really thought out. Not that it's like intricate even, but it's not like $1 million like design firm built out. It was like 3 poor 20-year-olds just being like squeezing their brains trying to think about what could be awesome,
I remember like the night we finally finished, we all kind of like stood back and all of our wives were like, you guys really beat our expectations on this.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my god.
It was hard for us to like always be on the same page about the specifics, and that was with us having shared values. Like we all had, the same core values that we ran a business with, and we want the cafe to be, efficient. We want the guests to feel like they're always in the right spot. Like we would always have these same core values, and we were aligned on those, but hashing out the specifics was tough. I can't imagine having different core values and trying to work with a team like that in that setup.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? Taking an intangible value, tangibilizing it into a real...
Tantalizing it.
And putting it into a real space, because it's like, no, I think details matter. Being expressed here would look like this. And you're
Right.
like, no. This is like putting empathy into action by doing this. And that makes it a details matter thing.
Right.
It's fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I think something I've really come to love that we did a little bit, like specifically with our bathroom and stuff, Easter eggs. Like I really look forward to the Easter eggs in our next cafe.
Yeah.
Like, right now we have the mirror that spells the words in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things are cool. I would love to have almost like a scavenger hunt of sorts in the next one. Like if you're in the bathroom and you look in the mirror, like up in the top corner behind you, it's just like look under the whatever. And then you go and you look under it and it says, you like pull something down and it's like, look here. And then you go there and then there's like a secret menu. Wow. That kind of stuff.
You've always wanted to do that, baby. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's make your
Let's
dream
bring
come
it,
true this
bring
time.
it to life.
But at our current cafe, we have the bathroom. We have Peppa Pig,
George.
Disco ball.
Disco Ball.
You know, can I just be really honest about something?
Here we go.
Can I just have a moment of honesty? I really didn't know that disco balls were supposed to spin. I just thought they hung there. And so when we were like, let's get a disco ball, I was like, yeah, that's easy. Just hang it up. And then so many people are like, it doesn't spin. And I'm like,
It's totally fine that it doesn't spin, though.
well, that would have been
it's
such
fine.
It's fine. That would have been such a hurdle, right? To
Oh my
mount
gosh,
the
yeah.
motor and run the electricity, blah, blah, blah.
I almost think if it spun, it would be kind of annoying.
You'd have to be able to turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Because if it was always on, like it would catch the sun and just someone would walk by and be like, what was that?
Or you're making drinks and like, every rotation you're like getting
Yeah.
blasted
It's
by
like,
the sun.
Was that an angel?
Excuse me.
Ethan, what were you going to talk about? That
My cultural critique on like American individualism and like rapid achievement versus like a more collectivistic, slow existence, i.e., like we're talking about how it's a slow move for us to go from one cafe to two in 3 years.
Bro, you must read like Kinfolk or something, right?
Yeah, I read this all out of a Kinfolk business. Don't they actually have one like that, like a business?
Are you serious?
I think so.
Wow.
well, it's like the two sides of that would be, like you said, American, like build, just for the sake of building and aspiration.
Confirmed.
Kinfolk.
Kinfolk entrepreneur.
Thank you, Kinfolk, for this.
Order
actually-
now.
I actually haven't read this, but I would. No
That's
hate.
so cool. Look at that.
Well, there's the side of, like you said, the rapid produce, but we're kind of, since we're awesome, right? We're wanting to take more of the sowing and reaping approach, agricultural mindset of like we've been sowing in 44 Milton, and then when we start to just reap out of 44 Milton, that's when we can kind of sow towards another opportunity. Mm-hmm. But it takes time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was even like juxtaposing that to someone, say in like Japan, who would most likely just work at the same place for their entire existence. The big difference there is that they may have like some sort of track on the same company, but yeah, there's this like commitment to a entity that I think there's a good and bad in our culture for that, right? Like we're always just thinking about how can we take like the next position, whether that's with X company or Y company. You just don't hear about a lot of people that have like been at the same place for 30 years,
Yeah.
basically. And there's probably a lot of answers as to why. And probably a big one is this whole like prior conversation of work sustainability culture, right? And someone's just trying to look for something fresh and better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to think that, and so what I was saying too is like 3 years to me doesn't sound like long at all. Like it would sound long if we were talking like 10 or 15. Granted, we are in the position where we need to like grow. Like we just have a larger starting size due to the 3 owners.
Yeah, that's one of the big challenges because, transparently, our cafe would be much more functional and profitable if there weren't 3 owners to support within a organization where we don't, we're not. I mean, it's a little bit different for you because you are just now coming out of the operational, like day-to-day ops side, where we're all kind of bigger picture stuff, but still making a salary. So you gotta start thinking about opening up some cafes at that point, which is cool. It's cool that we can think about that, and that is kind of the point of you not, like, us not taking salaries, is that we can oversee multiple cafes and make sure that they're all clicking, because we don't have to, be pouring coffee.
Pouring coffee. Yeah, I wonder how big a company has to get before, or if anyone ever loses this mindset of like, how much money does a position bring in cost? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Are you saying like how much money do you make the company?
right.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone thinks in that framework, but there's like companies that there's a person that just handles probably like personnel birthdays. Like they're so big, they just like plan parties all the time, and all they do is spend the company's money. But there's all these intangibles that like bring value to that position.
Wow.
And that's pretty cool. But I feel like when you're so small, like every step, you're like, all right, well, hey, we can bring on this person, but as long as they're just making their salary back, basically, in worth. And that's, I don't know, that's weird. It makes it sound very businessy, very like very impersonal. But I think we try to do a good job of not. I don't ever like look at our people like that. We're like, how much money are you making the company?
Right.
Yeah, so let's tie in this conversation with what we talked about an episode or 2 ago, where you said most of our employees, a lot of people have told you, the reason I love working for Valor is because the owners are involved. I see them, I work alongside them. So how do you retain that, the beauty of that and the preciousness of that with us, kind of removing ourselves and then overseeing multiple cafes and potentially, like what if we open a Valor in a couple other states and a part of our job is traveling and going between all these different ones? Or I've even thought, with this next cafe, how often am I going to get in there? Obviously I want to get in there as much as possible, but I think I've been to the 44 Milton spot 2 times in the past 3 weeks. And I don't like that, but different seasons require different workloads of all of us. And unfortunately we can't, be within it. But how do we retain a level of appreciating everyone who works for us, wanting to know each person individually? And even, is that possible as a growing company? And if it's not possible, what systems do you put in place to make someone feel seen and loved and cared for?
I've always thought with that, because I'll go out on a limb and say it's impossible to personally know everyone in a let's say we have 3 cafes and a roastery. There's no way for us to, that's not how we should spend our time, actually, is to personally be intertwined in the lives of every employee.
It would take away from other ways we could grow the company.
Back to that point is like, sure, you could, have an hour sit down with everyone in the company and really invest, but that would actually hurt them in the long term. And so I just feel if we had 3 cafes, let alone 2 cafes, I want the head coaches of those cafes to carry themselves like owners, to where the people that are on those pit crews feel like they are connected to like a true leader and like someone that carries himself like an owner, that works like an owner, that thinks like an owner. In different ways, it's like, okay, well then how do you make a leader? How do you make the head coach work like that, and think like that and carry themselves like that. I don't know, but we've thrown around, some more on the businessy side of things. I think certain companies who really, really care about their employees have wrongfully just given away equity to their employees as like, oh, they're such a great employee, and they probably are. And the employee has no intention of leaving the company anytime soon, but all of a sudden this employee has 2% of equity, and that could actually hurt them too, because it could hurt the overall company. And so we've talked about different ways, okay, if we don't want to give an employee equity, do we do some sort of profit sharing to where a huge part of ownership is, it's not really this way now, but to some extent, if I just work a ton on the right things, then I know I'm going to reap a reward, at least in the long run. It may not necessarily be that way for someone who's just on salary and who's not an owner. If you just make $50K a year managing a cafe, which I don't know if that's how much they're going to make, by the way.
More.
Be great. They're just, tied in at 50K. So it's like, no matter how hard they work, they're not necessarily going to see like an increase in income. Which you might say, well, you get to keep your job. That's nice, but also like if there was a profit sharing model to where they're more motivated to, not that it's all about money, but they do see a reaping in their sowing in real time.
Yeah, what came to mind when you were talking was just how this company grows, the dynamic changes, and there becomes like holes in the system where the leaders, quote unquote, they no longer can just be the three owners. And so you start having to build out basically leadership structure. And one thing I've never forgotten was that that book by the Navy SEAL Jocko, Extreme Ownership. Pretty intense book, but he just had a little blurb about like, I think at least in the Navy SEALs, like for every 6 people, there needs to be a leader, And so like, I don't know, just break that down. If you have 12 people in a cafe, you need 2 leaders. And if you have like 6 leaders for 3 cafes, someone needs to be leading them. And that's probably more likely where we come in. And then that kind of addresses your question of like, how do you get leaders to act like owners, i.e. just more leaders? And that's just through doing more like pointed investment. It's like the upside down triangle thing where like we're just moving ourselves lower and lower, and we're just supporting a different set of people more directly and intentionally, and then they're able to support their team, and then they're able to support their team, and then those people are able to support the guests.
Well, it reminds me too of how, we're talking about employees saying, I love working at Valor because I get to see the owners and work alongside them. It reminds me of how I've heard guests say the same thing. Like, I love coming to Valor because like the owner serves me or whatever. And I think that used to be something a long time ago. But I think as we've said on this show, our employees are every time I work on bar, I am just amazed by how far our employees have surpassed what I used to bring to the table as a barista. Like, I always feel like I'm working way out of my league when I cover a shift on bar, which is a really good sign, because it means that the people that we have put in the pit crew, they're not complacent. They're constantly growing past what we could have ever done. And so these customers, it's great that the owners got to serve them. And maybe it is a little bit of a different vibe to have an owner serve you at a cafe. But at the end of the day, the employees are the ones that are making connections with people. And we're here recording a podcast, while our team is serving people right now.
And connecting with people internationally.
Yeah.
Globally.
We're trying to go global.
That's right. Why are you looking at me?
Because you look like you're about to start talking, and I wanted to give you the attention that you deserve.
Oh, first of all, I think it would be really nice to have Mikey in here and ask her how she feels, empowered and takes ownership, because she's great at that.
Oh, yeah.
All of our employees are great at that. The CEO of the moment thing. Jonathan really embodied that when he was around a lot. So to have her would be dope. But, what you're saying, if you can't be there, behind the bar for that, that's why I think it's that much more important to have the personal touch of even just showing face. And that's what we have to figure as we grow. How do the three of us show face, not just to be like, shake hands and kiss babies, but to come in there and make an impact and bring a morale to the space. And, even if there's one in Miami,
one of us is
how are we going to get down to Valor Miami often?
Well, doesn't that, how much that's being emphasized right now in this season, I don't want to turn this thing into a meeting, but it's like, doesn't it make you question, like, how big's too big then? Not that we have plans of actually going global.
Yeah.
But it's like, if that's something that's really special about this company, probably don't want to, lose it, right? And you definitely can't achieve it at a certain size. And I think where we're going, we're trying to hit this, I have a feeling that we're going to hit this 3 cafe and then a fully functional roastery, and we might ride that out for a minute, because it's going to take a long time to regain homeostasis, and get to the level of efficiency and comfortability that we're at right now with one cafe that's been going for 3 years and a roastery that's not as in high intensity, because we're about to make it grow a lot just by having 2 more cafes. So, and seeing what does that look like? How involved are we going to be able to be in all of those operations? How much culture are we going to be able to impart?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said, let's grow as big as we can while retaining ourselves and our values.
That's what I was gonna say.
If that is, we're dapping. So if that's 45 cafes and we have the means to do that, then I'm let's do it. Mm-hmm. Not just so we can all get freaking loaded. I mean, if you're thinking about starting a business, don't let anyone tell you that making money is a bad thing. You can want that can be a driving factor towards your life. So I mean, that's cool. To run a successful, huge business. I'm more excited think about the position tree of that and the people that could start from the bottom and climb their way up. Mm-hmm. And then, someone closer to the top, works their way out and goes into something else that's great for them. And then that person gets to replace them. That's my motivation to take this thing bigger. But like you said, if it's impossible to go past 3 cafes while retaining our values, then no. But if we can figure out a way to do it, then sure.
Right.
That's why I think that's why it's been an easy conversation at times for us to talk about this almost crazy idea of opening another cafe a mile from our first one, because it'd be that much easier to manage and maybe it could work. And I'm not saying we'll never do that. I think that a lot of people do that really well. I mean, Methodical, for example, has 3 Greenville locations, and they do a great job. So I think
good job.
I think whenever when we first started talking about this. Okay, we're going to open the first one in Atlanta. Then we're going to open the next one in blank. And you don't really realize how hard that is until you're operating the business. Like, we have 3 owners, and we're like, oh my gosh, could you imagine opening something in Savannah? Like, that would be Savannah. That would be
Molasses.
That would be tough still. Sorry, I ran on my tangent, but
Well, I think. Whoa, voice crack. Sorry, that was embarrassing. Wow, it's not over. Okay, edit that out. The biggest thing to avoid, I think, is hypocrisy. Whenever you have, we talk about how do you maintain an owner's touch, and how much culture and inspiration and vision casting and, how can 3 owners truly help 5 cafes? It seems like, if we just, let's say at most once a month, one of us made it to each one of those cafes, the 3 of us are in there once a month. And, we're just in there, all smiley and like trying to embody the culture that, we want for this cafe. We notice a few things that are off a little bit, and, let's say we walk out of there and then the employees are grumbling to each other like, oh, they come in here like all nice and stuff whenever I'm getting treated like crap. Mm-hmm. It's like we want to avoid that hypocrisy. And the bigger you get, the harder that is, obviously. As much as people like to trash on former employers that they've worked with, probably the biggest, complaint that anyone would have, and rightfully so, about a former employer is just hypocrisy, right? Like you say one thing, you say this sparkly, pretty vision, but in reality, I was treated like this.
So how to not make them be treated like that.
Right. Yeah.
And that, you think that just all falls on the chain of leadership, like we were saying, like head coach, OC, having ownership in the space, maybe not through equity, but, through profit sharing or just through the way that they are treated by us.
Right.
Yeah.
It's quality radio, boys.
The big questions. I just realized you said that thing, to choose doubt as a philosophy of life is akin to choosing immobility as a means of transportation, was just on the dadgum screen.
That's right.
This episode is brought to you by Momentum.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure you'll show that in post, Big T.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can green screen it.
To change the subject a little bit, what's your dream sponsor for this show? Anyone got any dream sponsors?
Dude. I was just talking to one of our pit crew dudes, John Lawson, Lou Gray, and he was talking to me about someone who was talking on another podcast and how they were saying that for their sponsorships, they want like really, because sometimes if you get a sponsor, you get like their stuff.
Yeah.
So he was like, I really just want the things that I want to sponsor me, like Oatly. Like, just give me a bunch of free oat milk.
Yeah.
Or like...
we got to call... Is her name Diane?
Yeah.
Down at Oatly?
Down at Oatly.
Yeah.
So Oatly, he said
they had
that,
a Super Bowl commercial, so they got the liquid.
Something. Yeah.
Oh, they did? Wow.
And then he said something like, have you guys heard of Keel? That's like a lotion.
Mm-mm.
It must be awesome. But he said that, and I said, I don't know what that is. But so Oatly sounds great, and then maybe like,
ExpressVPN.
What's that?
You don't know, like every they sponsor everything. Like them and Squarespace sponsor everything.
Oh,
That's funny.
I don't.
Squarespace really does sponsor a lot of things. You know who'd be a good sponsor for us is Simple Cart. I think it's called Simple Carts. Either that or a barista capsule would be good for us. Which leads me to a quick tangent. Internet, if you're watching and you're wondering, how do I start a coffee cart? And you also know that we started a coffee cart how many years ago? 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
We are going to do
Wake
extravaganza coffee cart masterclass. I don't know if we want to call it a masterclass, but it'll be close. It'll be masterclass esque. If you have questions on anything as it relates to how do you get certified by the health department, I don't know if you can. And how do you assemble the cart? What machine do you pick? What's the plumbing like for a mobile setup? Send them to info@valor.coffee. And we are just going to have a big old list of questions that we're going to go through. I bet the episode's going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes if I had to guess.
I don't have the time for that.
Well, it'll be all right. But that is there. We get so many questions about that. And actually, I didn't know this, but I was talking to a wholesale partner that's starting a coffee cart, and they were telling me that you actually have to pay for this material a lot. Like there's a lot of people online that are like, you want to know how to start a coffee cart? Here's a free PDF. But if you want to know really what FlowJet you should get, you got to buy this ebook.
Someone read Story Brand.
Yeah,
huh?
right. But I don't know. I don't want to do that.
No.
We'll just talk about it.
Free material.
Yeah.
Free the material.
So it would be cool to have sponsors to that end.
Yes.
FlowJet could sponsor us.
Accumulators could sponsor us.
Push to Connect fittings.
I was gonna say our desks, that brand Ergon Office.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of theirs. It's perfect for the coffee community because you can sit at your desk and work, but then you raise that thing up, cupping table.
Wow.
Boom.
Dang, son.
Easy.
Come on, son.
Okay, so we have Oatly, Ergon Office,
Barista Capsule.
Barista
I
Capsule,
think it's called Simple Cart.
Simple Cart,
ExpressVPN.
ExpressVPN,
I didn't get that one.
the Atlanta Falcons, so that we could get free tickets to football games.
Confirmed it's called Simple Cart.
Nice.
Heck, I'll take anything.
I love it.
But if
with all of our listeners, I'm sure these
Well, we've just been
advertisers
saying we're just
are
saying
lining
no right now.
yeah.
to everything that
We're just
comes
waiting
our
for
way.
the right opportunity.
Yeah.
It needs to be values alignment. You can't just throw money at us,
It's never worked.
boys.
Little segue here, Ross. You wanted to talk about a coffee topic. You want to pose that?
Yes, I do. I want to lay a topic before you boys right now, okay?
Unto
You to see your thoughts. We taste a fair amount of coffee. We've tasted a good amount of coffee, in our day, whether that's our coffee or other roasters' coffee. And obviously, without naming any names, a lot of this coffee is either sort of overdeveloped, or if you want to talk in really simple terms, over roasted, or you have another camp that swings in the complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's very underdeveloped and green tasting. Could you say it's too lightly roasted? Can you be that general, baby?
is under quote unquote under roasting the same as lack of inner bean development? Because i.e., which I don't know what that means. I think it's Latin something. Could you roast something for a while, like a standard time, and still not be able to develop your inner being due to a technical error, like a mechanical shortcoming?
Yeah. So I'll just pose an example for you. If I'm roasting a coffee super, super hot from start to finish, I can get a coffee, to second crack or pretty oily, which we don't do. And it can still not have inner bean development. Like you can take a coffee to second crack in 9 minutes, but you're scorching the outside of it and you're not taking it, to the inside. Think about it in terms of baking a cake. You boys bake cakes, right?
Every day.
Only.
If you bake a cake on super, super high heat for a shorter amount of time, talking super high heat, that's like the joke of like, I could bake this for 400 for 30 minutes, or I could bake it on 1 million for 1 second.
Yeah, classic debate, right?
Yeah. So
What's better? Who
So-
baked it better?
obviously you don't. It's not that much of a degree of difference, but you could take something to you could be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna roast this coffee super super quick, and I'm gonna take it a second crack. But the inside, you got like freaking green bean down in there. So does that answer your question?
100.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll travel, like, when we go on these yearly owners retreats, it's some of our only like true quality time, like the three of us just
Broing out.
like for a long period of time. We'll go to these coffee shops in whatever city we're in, and we'll usually get like 3 drinks and then split them all.
Do you want to say what our little
Split
order?
them all. Split them all. Ben Halen.
Theme song.
Yeah, so we usually get a cappuccino because we want to taste the espresso with milk.
Yeah, but who orders what?
I order the cappuccino.
I order the espresso. No, I order the drip.
pour over.
The pour over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I order the espresso.
Sometimes we go back and forth.
This is true. Based on who gets more excited about something,
Yeah.
you'll order it, or I'll order what I'm excited about, and then the person will get the other thing.
Right. Because we want to taste the coffee in all these different forms. And we'll usually get, like, for the filter slot, we'll either just get what's on drip just because we want to like taste what their blend is like, because that's interesting, or we'll get like whatever $7 BS they have on the menu. That's like innovative anaerobic black honey, this whatever.
Scooty-Doo.
And there's a lot of times where we get this filter brew or we get the espresso, and you take a sip and it's like, man, I can tell that they were really excited about this coffee, and they got a sample of it and they cupped it and they're like, this tastes crazy. And it's like, okay, in order to get the most crazy flavors out of this coffee, we need to roast it really, really, really light so that we really maintain that like true natural like flavor that you get from the source of just this green bean. We don't want the roast to affect the green bean too much. We don't want it to taste like the roast. We want it to taste like the origin or the black honey processing or the whatever it is.
Getting choked up over here talking about black honey?
I'm sorry.
Crying?
I just composure. And those terms, they're not really speaking in the right terms, right? It's like, we don't want it to taste like the roast. We want it to taste like the green bean. It's like that's not even the right conversation. It's like, what is it, Big T? What's the right way to?
I'm not going to say there's a right or wrong way.
Wow.
Just say it, Big T. Come on.
Wow.
So you have 2 different, maybe even 3 different. You have a million different camps here, okay? One is that ideology. I want to impart the flavors of the bean, of the farmer.
And that was probably a step, right?
That was a step,
like a
for
third
sure.
wave step.
And so that kind of ties in with this thought process of I want to highlight acidity, that is an interesting standpoint, and I get it. You want to highlight the brightness of the coffee, especially. But I think where we're running into this is you have a lot of specialty roasters who only want to highlight brightness and acidity. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't do that intentionally, but that's where their palate. And all of this goes back to this conversation of if you're only tasting your coffees, you're going to have a narrow scope.
Right.
If that's why, and we don't even do this as well as we should. It's great to have different coffees from different roasters often.
Yes.
Like even once a week, this is a coffee from a different roaster right now.
Metric,
yeah. And it's, it expands your palate, gives you ideas of what other people are doing. And it doesn't keep you in this mindset of only your own coffees. If you're only tasting your own coffees, then you start highlighting acidity like crazy. You're probably going to have a very distinct flavor that might not jive with everyone. So anyways, highlighting acidity. I'm going to take this washed Ethiopian and I'm going to highlight the orange zest or like the floral components, and that's it. So I'm going to only roast it to 17% development time in 10 minutes or whatever. That's a little dramatic, but so you have that camp, and then you have this camp that we were really in for a long time of like every coffee we get, we're going to highlight sweetness, or not even necessarily that. Like if it's a naturally really like pretty acidic coffee, we're going to highlight sweetness. If it's a naturally sweet coffee, maybe we highlight acidity to try to balance everything out. We were in this like balance ideology. You guys remember that? Especially like when we were roasting at Peach.
Yeah.
So
that Diedrich helped us a lot with that.
Yeah. So we did that a good bit. So, you know, obviously, and then we kind of got, I don't want to say we were known for this, but especially in the Atlanta coffee market, we were taking our coffees a good bit more developed than a lot of other roasters.
Right.
And we even almost course corrected from that to where now we just take each coffee and we're like, what's the vibe we're going to go for with this?
Yeah.
You know, with our Brazil, that's 80% of free throw. That coffee, we could have a couple different things of it. That coffee would taste completely different if we roasted it, you know, to 10 minute, 30 seconds, 18% development time than what we do realistically, which is like 12:45, 24% development time. Because we want one thing from that coffee, and it's for it to be chocolatey as hell.
And
then,
simple.
And simple, yeah. So we have that, and then we add a freaking anaerobic natural to it that gives it the fruity stuff. So that we're kind of balancing in that way. But that anaerobic is a coffee where we're like, let's make this thing freaky. And it can like give crazy fruity punch, not fruit punch, fruity punch.
Fruity punch.
Yes.
To free throw. Plus, we can serve that as a single origin, and it can kind of blow people's mind in its own right. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're kind of all over the place at this point. I mean, we just get a coffee, and we're like, how do we want this coffee to taste in terms of our menu slots?
Right.
And we kind of build everything around the menu slots instead of just, you know, everything like, let's take this thing bright.
Right.
Or like let's just highlight the sweetness to balance things out. We don't put yourself in a box, you know? Don't do things because other roasters are doing it. I feel like we have kind of fallen into thinking about things in terms of that in the past. Mm-hmm. Don't do something just because you've been doing it for a long time. You know, that's the challenge of the status quo side of things. And then I don't know. I lost my
It would
train
have
of
been
thought.
nice to have three.
Yeah.
But
I had something to say, but it's
I
gone.
think you had three things.
Well, it's important to not do what other roasters are doing so that you have your own identity. At the same time, though, as me, Ross, over wholesale, if I'm trying to sell our coffee to, you know, some random mom and pop cafe that has a relatively darker espresso option, let's say, well, I really enjoy converting cafes from second wave to third wave coffee. Mm-hmm. And usually in that setup, their espresso, I walk in and, you know, there's like kind of some oily beans in the hopper a little bit. And I can tell that it was like definitely a post roast or a pre-roast blend, you know, where they just had a bunch of different Brazilian coffees and threw them in the roaster and scorched it. And, you know, there's certain things that customer likes about that coffee, which is that it's robust and it's chocolatey. And if you pour 16 ounces of hot milk in it, you can still taste the coffee taste. Mm-hmm. But I have to be able to offer something to that customer that they are going to love. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, is that my preferred coffee to drink personally as Ross? You know, like, am I going to wake up in the morning and just crave our darkest roast? Probably not. But do we have a better chance of getting that account and providing, ethically sourced coffee to that person and providing better support to them and helping the culture to have, better turnover. Like these are all things we do in our wholesale program, but I'm not going to be able to do anything for them if I don't have a coffee that's like at least comparable to that like second wave oily dark roast.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of one of my like sneakily favorite offerings we have, workers' comp, which we call it our dark-ish roast. We wanted to see like how light can we roast a coffee while it's still tasting like a dark roast. And so, we have this coffee. It's a Honduran coffee, and it's chocolatey and it's robust and it's definitely there's a few ways it's like a dark roast. It's not very high acidity, which is super key for a dark roast.
It's round.
It's round. Smooth. All these words that you want to hear, but not bitter, right?
That's right.
I want smooth, but not bitter.
Right. And I want it to, kind of knock my socks off a little bit. These are terms we've all heard about, dark roasts. We've all heard this.
Everybody's heard this.
But we don't even roast it that dark. And the price point is, it's one of our cheaper coffees. But I just love being able to take someone from a super dark roasted, non-ethically sourced coffee where the wholesale relationship is not even really there. They just buy coffee to like working with us where we can have, I sell them workers' comp and we're able to like actually have a really fun business relationship together. So it's important to like be yourself and bring on coffees that you're excited about so that, you're excited about it and you're engaged and the people that care about what you're excited about buy that, but to also have your better version of these like classic flavor profiles we see in America.
Yeah, we just did a catalog cupping of like all the coffees that we offer right now. We just did that a few days ago. So I was going to ask what are some coffees that we're pushing that you guys are excited about, personally speaking from a personal standpoint as persons.
The Loring just crushes the floral, like washed Ethiopian thing. Like I feel like every time I taste whatever, transparently, we keep a washed Ethiopian on year round for grocery reasons.
Yeah. Thanks for that transparency.
And that's, we structure it to where we try to get some at the beginning and end of harvest, and it works great. Whenever we do a catalog cupping like that, I taste that and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Same, bro.
Pineapple upside down cake, like crazy florals. So that Ethiopia Kaon Mountain was dope, and we just ran out of it.
Yep.
But we have another dope Limu coming up behind it. That's going to be great.
What's up, Limu?
So I'm always so excited about those coffees personally. We usually go like 10 minutes, 50 seconds. It changes from coffee to coffee, but 10, 50, 18% development time ratio. And it's great.
Come on. Ross?
I really like free throw. And I think it's, again, just back to the point I just made. Because I do wholesale and I try to sell these coffees to people, I just love being able to see a blend with an anaerobic in it in someone's hopper. It makes my day. It almost makes me more excited than like whatever fancy, crazy complex coffee we have on the table. Just to have this like solid backbone. Like we've had free throw on espresso ever since we started roasting. Like we've never changed it unless we like ran out or something.
Which is honestly rare.
Yeah. And I just love being able to meet a customer's need in a way they're not necessarily expecting, aka having an anaerobic in a blend, but it's still tasting right. So that I I'm always proud of free throw. It's always my standby.
You stand with free throw?
I stand with
He's a
throw.
free throw stan.
Free throw stand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah,
thing.
stand.
Okay.
Okay.
What about you, baby?
Thanks, baby. We have a really wonderful washed Costa Rican Entre Rios, and we got another Costa Rican Entre Rios a while back. That was our first ever anaerobic natural, but this is just one of their other coffees on deck. What?
It's a washed one. It's just,
Yeah, totally. But I was wondering, I didn't know if it'd be a different variety. I didn't look at the same coffee, just different process.
The
Same
price
farm?
is in the processing.
The price is in the processing.
Understandably so.
Understandably so.
Do you know if they do processing there at Entre Rios?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
That's what kind of why they're able to offer a washed, maybe a natural, maybe a
Anaerobic.
anaerobic vibe.
I want to make sure that I'm not speaking incorrectly, so I'm just going to pull up my communication with Ricky.
Why don't I?
Shout out Ricky.
Hey, thanks, Ricky. But that coffee is almost like free throw in just a single farm
Sure.
coffee, in that we are able, I guess we develop it enough in the roasting process that we are able to put it on drip with confidence, that we can, throw some creme.
It's on drip at the cafe right now.
Throw a stevia in there. See if
Hell.
I care.
Yeah.
Hell, yeah. Let alone a stevia.
Let alone a Steve.
And someone, they're chill about that. But then I'll just have it in a little cup and I'll just be sipping on it. And I'm like, man, this is good.
Yeah.
It's complex. It's like, I'm trying to think I was pulling some crazy flavors out of it on the cupping table.
Well, I just love how different demographics of customers can be equally as satisfied and intrigued by one product. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the sign of a great product. Like an iPhone, Entre Rios is sort of like the iPhone of our offering list.
I've always thought that.
Let me just read you guys off this sheet. This is for the washed. As the largest Rainforest Alliance certified coffee farm in Costa Rica, Aquiles devotes 80% of its land to growing high-quality coffee and the remaining 20% to conservation. Coffee plots are interlaced with over a dozen natural springs and almost 20 kilometers in streams, all protected with buffer zones in line with the property's RA certification. These streams form a network of natural corridors through the farm that connect to large protected forests in the two river valleys, providing a healthy environment for the local animals, birds, and plants. The farm and the community at Aguirres are mutually connected. The farm provides services, land, security, and honest jobs. In return, the coffee farms benefit from a well-educated community and relies on highly skilled professionals from its community to thrive. Such a level of interdependence has helped contribute to the sense of pride that Aquiareños take in both their community and the coffee. So yeah, Aquiares is the farm.
Very nice.
Largest RA certified, Rainforest Alliance certified.
Can we go there, please?
I'd love to.
Okay, let's go.
But yeah, so I get the processing price tag, especially when you're checking pH and stuff. It's labor intensive.
Yeah, but that's the one I'm really digging right now.
Yeah.
I was getting a big pink peppercorn thing on the nose that I was like, ooh, fruity and spicy and fun. Check, please.
It's on drip at the cafe.
It'd be dripping. Yeah.
We won't have it for much longer though.
Sorry if I got anybody excited. Get it while you can, I guess.
That's right.
And there'll be something cool to. It's funny. It's I don't know what. Is there anything else that equates to this feeling that you're so in love with a coffee that we have, and then we use it all, and then you have like a moment of hopelessness, and then you just instantly fall in love with a new coffee that we get? Is there anything that you could like tie that into in life?
There's several things.
Well, go ahead.
I don't know.
I mean, where do you start? Yeah.
And it's like overwhelming the amount of things that equate to that. It's like I can't even say.
Because it's a short period. Like sometimes it could just be like a month, months, weeks, even for some coffees. Whew. I feel like our Kenya was just here and gone this time really quickly.
Yeah, that one was good. And that's the funny thing about about being a growing company is we subscribe to a lot of the philosophies in Dear Coffee Buyer by Ryan Brown. And it basically, it wants you to, he suggests not planning for future growth within your green purchasing, side of stuff. So, that can put you into some tight spots like that coffee, if I would have tried to account the Kenya specifically, if I would have tried to account for some growth that we might experience, I could have ordered more of it. But what if that didn't happen and we just sat on it for longer than we should have?
And then quality starts to...
Yeah. So I would rather have things hyper seasonally than the other way around.
Sure.
But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like, it usually happens for me with those washed Ethiopians. Mm-hmm. Like, they're here, I love them, they go, and then I'm sad, and then I love them again. We've had some Colombians this past year that have really jived with me.
The El Ruby.
El Ruby, yeah.
Pink Bourbon.
That coffee was probably one of my favorites we've ever had.
That's fair.
I tend to agree.
This was a really legit coffee podcast this round.
Wasn't it?
Gentlemen, I think we've outdone ourselves. I think we deserve a sponsor.
Roll sponsor.
This podcast is currently sponsored by Valor still.
That's right. In some Valor news, subscriptions should be live on the website this week.
Wow.
Big step.
Huge step. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny, our developer, that helped me with this. I can only go so far myself with my coding skills, and I couldn't go that far. So we got that done, about ready to launch. In other Valor news, we have been going through a rebrand for a very long time, and that will be ready to rip in about a month, a little over a month.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I could not be more excited for that.
You can barely contain yourself even now.
Look at you. You're convulsing.
What is one aspect of the rebrand that you're most excited about?
Packaging, and it's not even close.
Wow. What's one aspect of the rebrand that you're most excited about?
I was talking to someone yesterday about how we're rebranding, and I was like, yeah, we're getting excuse me. We're getting a new logo. And he was like, another one?
Who were you talking to?
Luke Folsom.
Oh, Luke.
We installed a brewer at someone's church, and I was telling him about this. And he was like, y'all have had like 6 logos. And I counted, and it's up there. And we've had all these different designers.
We've had 4.
Luke.
Well, you got your VLRs, though, which is like a
Here we
logo.
go.
It's true.
And we've had 2 different VLRs. So it's 6.
Yeah.
And
The VLR on our packing tape is sick,
oh, yeah. And Matt Power.
which is on the hat, too.
Right.
Thanks, Matt.
And so I think all the designs have been good. Mm-hmm. It's just that there's been a lot of them. And that's what I'm most excited about, is just to have we have, I think, a truly strong logo, font for the, word Valor, if you want to say it that way.
I don't.
And I'm just excited to put that thing on everything and not have any of the old logos on things.
Sayonara.
I think that's the main Yeah, that's huge. Just continuity. Like we have different logos on doors and
Right.
all that stuff. That'll be dope.
And they're all pretty different, honestly. Like the logos we have right now, they're not very like you can't really put them side by side.
And that's a style, right? Like there's some companies that just like they just mix it up all the time, and it's gonna be different. It'd be like different themes. It's almost reminds me of Taekwondo Club a little bit, and then like part of their brand is doing different iterations and different themes for seasons. But that's not what we tried to do. It just is like a hodgepodge of what happened. But for me, it's kind of funny, but I really like how we tightened up the colors and like changed, like we're keeping all of the same colors basically, but we're just like changing the hue, I guess. And I really like them.
Yeah, me
really,
too.
really like them. Like they're on the new labels for our interim bags. I was like, this looks great.
It's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah. More color, more better.
Yeah, so that'll be great. And, you know, the process has been what was the word that you used where you like mixed grief with something else?
Grief.
Yeah,
Strife and grief.
It's been grifing, but
Very griefing.
but it as it comes to a close, I'm just like, man, we have something here.
Yeah. And big shout out to Elijah, Ariel, Michaela, Riley. We were there.
Elijah's friend.
Elijah's friend.
Yeah.
Any other friends, honestly, just to all
Shout
of
out
our
to
friends,
friends. Yes.
everywhere. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, it was a team effort.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to win the big ball game because of it, you know.
Super Bowl bound, baby.
Super Bowl bound. All right, well, we have to talk a little sports.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
We don't have to get into it too much. This is for anyone that doesn't like the sports portion, this is your time to like just log off, you know. Or just mute it so we get the full stream or what, I don't know how this thing works.
It totally works that way.
Yeah, so you can hear our end roll ad.
Yeah. Yeah, we need a
So it's me from the future. We just went on a rambling episode about after our recent conversations about football. So if you don't want to hear about football and sports, don't listen to the bonus episode. If you do, then listen to the bonus episode. There's some gold in there. We appreciate you listening. We love you. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, if you could like, subscribe, follow, comment, share with your friends, it would mean a lot. So, bye.